Well, we're in Psalm 12, and we are going to cruise through this psalm this week. I think we'll finish it by Friday. We began on this past Friday, just the first two words, help Lord. What great, powerful words. What a great way to start your week. Help Lord. Well, David continues, for the godly man ceaseth, for the faithful fail from among the children of men. They speak vanity, every one with his neighbor, with flattering lips, and with a double heart do they speak. So verses 1 and 2, David begins well by saying, God, I need your help. Well, why does he need God's help? Because he can't find it horizontally. He is struggling to have genuine friends and to find genuinely godly people and genuinely faithful people in this moment in his life. What a sad and tragic experience to come to a moment where you look around and everybody's trying to use you. Everybody's lying to you. Everybody's deceiving you. Have you ever been there? You ever feel like you're there? Probably at work, often you feel like you're there. And here we are on Monday, starting a new work week, and lots of folks are coming back to work. And maybe you look around and think, is anybody honest? Is there any integrity anymore? Does anybody care really about authenticity and truth? Is there any heart that longs for what is right, what is godly? Is there anybody that's going to be faithful? I know in ministry sometimes I hear of this failure and this problem and this abuse and this tragedy. And I mean, throughout the 45 years of my Christian journey, I could tell you story after story after story of bad leadership and flawed and failed lives and hearts. And you begin to wonder, wait a minute, is any of it real? And David is there right now, just looking up to God. And I think the big takeaway in verse 1 is this: make sure your heart is deeply anchored and rooted and embedded that the Lord is ultimately your help. It's one thing to have friends and family. It's one thing to have a pastor and a church family. But you don't want your core trust to be embedded in other people, because other people, even at their best, they're going to struggle to be faithful. They're going to struggle with godliness. There's a double sense here of the godly man ceases and the faithful fail from among the children of men. The first sense, in sort of a comprehensive view, is very much like Romans 3, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Or Isaiah, all of our righteousness is as filthy rags. Romans 3, there's none righteous, no, not one. None seeketh after the Lord. Basically, that we've all got this, we're born with a sin nature, and after our salvation, I believe the sin nature is crucified with Christ, but we still have the flesh to struggle with, and we still have that battle of our flesh versus the Spirit of God leading us in godliness. So none of us are naturally godly. None of us are naturally faithful. We're all sinful. And then the second sense of it is, once God confers godliness upon me and calls me faithful based on the faithfulness of Jesus, based on the gift of Jesus' righteousness, which was provided through his work on the cross. Once I'm declared righteous, then it is God's desire to grow me in godliness, to grow me in that righteousness, to grow me in faithfulness. And so the first takeaway is, are we embedded most deeply, not in looking to men for the foundation of our faith, but truly looking to God, looking to Jesus as our rock, as our fortress, as the foundation of what is true and solid and durable in our lives. But then secondly, do we really desire to grow in godliness and in faithfulness? When you look around your life, are you intentionally intersecting your life in community with those who equally desire to grow in godliness and to grow in faithfulness? Our world is attacking gender, roles, God's definitions of men and women, and it's sad because there's an attack on the basic fiber and framework that God established in society. And he put us on this planet, and he calls us to godliness and faithfulness. And there is a great dearth today of godly men, godly manhood, godly masculinity. There is a toxic masculinity. I think there's probably a toxic femininity as well. But in God's economy, there's a godliness that can be brought about in our lives, a heart after God, a heart that's being transformed and shaped like God. And that produces in a man a godly manhood, a godly masculinity, a Christ-like, loving, leading heart. And in a woman, it creates a godly womanhood. It creates a godly femininity, a godly desire to embrace the assignments and the roles and the purposes that God wants to fulfill in my life, and to be faithful to those purposes. So in David's day, the godly man ceaseth, the faithful fail from among the children of men. But thanks to the gospel, we don't have to stay there. Personally, we don't have to stay there. And we don't have to look around and see a total absence of godly friends, godly family, godly church family. No, we can walk with wise men. We can find the faithful, godly men and women and Christ followers of our day, and we can surround ourselves with them and contribute to them and them to us, and we can grow in this thing of godliness and faithfulness. I hope that in your world, you'll fill the gap. In David's day, there was a big gap. He couldn't find a godly man. He couldn't find a faithful man. Others in your life are looking. They're looking for godliness. They're looking for faithfulness. Why don't you go into your week this week and decide, I'm going to fill that gap. I'm going to be a godly, faithful friend to anybody that God brings across my path. Happy Monday. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great week. Thanks for joining me for Enough for Today.